positions that are not the most conservative positions available, because they don't want to risk their relationship with the company, which is a really important thing to them. I do frequently get through people who say, can you take a look at the last 3 or 5 years, how they filed them? I think I paid too much. Frequently you go in there, you find it is the kind of scenario either that they went to a domestic accountant, who probably is a very good accountant, but does not understand how things work abroad, or they were using an accountant that was employed by the company, and the company basically just wants it off their desk, and they don't care if if you're getting the best treatment possible. They just want it done. TEQ is tax equalization. There are people who are basically they're paid at net, which means they'll negotiate their salary and say, I want to be paid at this net salary. If I was sitting in New York, I would be getting paid $200,000 a year. I want to be going to Tokyo and still getting paid net $200,000 a year. You figure it out. And there are contracts like that. They're very complicated to deal with, but that was what that was about. And nobody here I spoke to was in a TEQ situation, so I'm just going to pass over. Japan tax returns. And yeah, even though I'm a foreigner, I actually arranged this. I do understand the Japan tax laws quite well. I wouldn't actually file them myself, because if your return showed up in the tax office with my signature on it, they would go through it with a fine-tooth comb, because they would not believe that I could possibly understand the rules properly. So I do arrange this. The rules for personal taxes are generally pretty simple. Actually, if you're not over 20 million yen in gross salary, you don't specifically have an obligation to file your tax return. Usually the company will straighten it up for you at the end with 1 year-end adjustment. Boom, it's your Gensen Shoshiryo, which you've probably seen before. They just adjust it, boom, one final time, you're done. There's no need to file a formal tax return. That's your formal tax return. It's like your W-2 shows up and the federal and state tax are perfect. You're done. That's it. Nothing needs to be filed. But for people over 20 million, for people who have unusual tax situations, properties, medical, additional dependents, unusual losses, you do actually have to file your own personal tax return. And it's called a computation code if you have any interest in it. The first letter of computation, the first words of computation, the first 2 characters mean set. It's a fixed return. It's very difficult to change once you filed it. On the other hand, it's self-reporting. They invariably don't ask for any proof of anything you say. You can go to them and tell them a lot of things, and they may very well believe it. They will have the information from your Gensen as to what you were paid for salary and what you had deducted. But in general, they don't know a whole lot, and they rely upon you to report it to them. Now, if what you report to them looks very strange, they will ask for information. But in general, it's self-reported. It is residency-driven, as I said, the 5-year rule. It is curious to note that if a Japanese citizen leaves Japan, they're no longer taxable they break residency with Japan, they no longer have to pay taxes in Japan. They break residency, move to Hong Kong, and live there for 5 years, they have no tax obligation back to Japan, because the tax obligation is based upon you being a resident in the country, not your citizenship, which is different than the U.S. They are very accommodating to local standards. They have a very difficult time figuring out how to deal with foreign investments. So they will listen to you if you tell them this is actually how it's handled in France, this is how it's handled in the US, these are the rules. It doesn't quite fit with yours. They're fairly accommodating to that because the rules are not really written for that situation. They do divide types of income rigidly.